It's a new week, and we are in week 3 of my Top Step Combine 50K challenge. And today is November 17th, Monday. So far, setting my account, I am up one trade and I'm also down one trade. So my first trade, I did win 1530 and I did lose a trade. So I did lose 486. But since my risk reward is positive, I have a 3-to-1 risk reward. I am up. If I lose 2 more trades, then I'll be break even. I'll be back to 0. I'll be back to break even, and I'll have to win the same amount of trades. That is where I'm sitting at now on my top step. And I'm going to break down the charts today and show you guys what has been going on. Did not take any trades today, but sometimes it's interesting to see like what the market is doing. I can still learn things, and yeah, you don't always have to take a trade, and I don't always take a trade. This is just me watching the markets, learning things, and maybe in the future I might add more things to my strategy or add more setups. Here's what we're working with. Here's the Nasdaq, here's the ES, and we are looking at the 2-minute charts. And for me, I trade the break and retest, so I do have supply levels, I do have demand levels, and I also have previous day's lows and previous day's highs. And since we're in this range right now, I call it the no trade zone. I just call it in the range, to be honest. I don't take any trades. I do not take a single trade if we're inside this box. When I tried out all my levels in the morning, I already knew that I wasn't gonna take a trade. Could honestly just walk it away. I didn't even have to sit at my computer and just like watch the markets for no reason, because I knew my setup was gonna happen. Since I know my strategy and I've been at this for a while, I know that if my setup is potentially there, and I also have alerts on my screen, like right here on the supply and also the demand right here. So if I get the alerts, then I can always go back to my computer. I do still stay in my charts just to see what the market is doing and also just to do other things, but I did not take any trades today. And that is just my strategy. My strategy is the break and retest. I'm gonna go to Nasdaq and I'm gonna go to bigger time frames and show you guys some interesting things that happened today. And we are in a downtrend basically. It's slowly going down, but at the same time, it's kind of tricky because you go back to the bigger time frames and we are in an uptrend. So the bigger time frames, we are in an uptrend, but it doesn't mean you long just because we're in a bigger time uptrend, right? It doesn't mean you just long. Some interesting levels that I want to note for today is this previous day's highs levels, which was the previous day, and the market did have a pre-market high right here, but the market didn't get up to that zone. So the market just went up in the morning and it did not quite get to the previous day's highs, but it did reject the market, and that's where the weakness was there. We also have a Thursday low, which is right here on this level, and also we have the low of day, which is right here. So I'm gonna mark these levels out and show you guys why it's important. And I don't trade them, but it's just a thing to note, and it's interesting just to see the levels form and how you could form a trade off these levels. The morning open, and guess what? It held the Thursday low right there. You can see that from the morning, we are just like going straight down. And like I say, in a downtrend, it goes down, goes up, goes down, it goes up. But eventually, when it has too much downside, it just goes up. And a lot of trap shorts, when they try to short the market in the morning, it goes down aggressively, but then it gets bought back up right away. Then when the market goes up, goes back down, and we can see that it gets to the low day. I can actually short this level if it breaks this level. So this is the low day right here, and this is the low day. Imagine we are still trading above this zone right here, and then later it slowly breaks down. It gives me that retest down here, and I could actually take a trade right there. That's still a break and retest, but the levels are just different. The context is just different. But for me, I don't trade a strategy. It's still the break and retest, and maybe in the future, who knows, maybe I will do this. I'm not doing it right now because I haven't really backtested that much, but this is just something that I see. Eventually, you may spot things and you can always add it to your playbook later. Since this was also the low day, maybe I was looking for the break and retest and it actually failed to get below this level. This is basically a low. This was the second low. That's a double bottom low, and we can actually think of longing the market, because people might think it might just go down, but you can actually just have a game plan to actually long this market because that was the low day. So this right here could have been the 3-to-1 that I was looking for, and I would have got a nice trade. If I actually did take this trade, it would have been a 3-to-1 right there. And that was already pretty simple. But like I said, this is not my strategy, and I'm not gonna take this trade because I know what my strategy is. And honestly, this could never be another game plan. Like let's say you had this high of day, and then the market goes up, it fills the previous day's highs, it gets back down here, rejects, and that could be another trade. But there's so many options, there's so many ways you can trade the market, but I'm not doing that currently. While I was also looking at the market, I also like to look at other stocks because sometimes there could be setups. Like I'm gonna go to Amazon real quick, and I was looking at this setup right here. This was the low of day on Amazon, or like the previous day's lows right there. And as you see in the market in the morning, the market is pretty bearish. Like it's right here, it goes down and then it gets bought back up right on the previous day's lows. But then later on, it does break back down. It gives you that retest, but then it fakes you out. This is basically the bear flag, but then it fakes you out, but then later it goes back down. And that was basically the 3-to-1 trade right there. And that was a really good trade. But again, I don't trade stocks. I don't trade like instruments. I don't trade Nvidia, Tesla. I just trade the futures. Maybe in the future, I would trade these because it does happen. This is my A+ strategy right here. This is the low day. This is previous day's lows. And that is literally the break and retest intraday. Previous day's lows, break and retest. Previous day's highs, break and retest. All those sort of stuff is my A+ strategy. And even when I do zoom out to the bigger time frames, there's nothing on this level right here. So that was like super A+. This is just a stock. It's not the market. So I had to pair it up with the NASDAQ and the ES. That's the thing that kind of messed me up before, because when I did actually first trade, I never actually just traded the QQQ and SPY. When I did options, I mainly traded stocks. So I had Tesla, I had Nvidia, and actually Tesla was a bit too much, but I had Nvidia, I had Amazon, and I'll look at the market and also trade the stocks, sometimes SPY and QQQ, but I had to make sure they all align together so that I can read the market structure properly. Amazon was already weak in the morning. If you look at the NASDAQ and the ES, you can see that in the morning it just went up. So if we're in a strong market, it's kind of hard to do the opposite. It's kind of hard to short a market. It's kind of hard to short a stock when the market is going up. That is what I had for this day. Did not take any steps because we're inside my range, my no trade zone, and that is it for today. We still have 4 more days in this week, and we'll see if I take any trades. But this is it for Monday, and what I like to say in every single video: how you do one thing is how you do everything. Keep staying disciplined, keep staying consistent, and let's just get 1% better every day. And I'll see you in the next one.